Welcome to Lunch and Learn. We're on Gosha Moore's Zoom here, and she couldn't be with us today. So I am Brigitte Young, and we're going to talk about inflammation and what to do about it. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're live or you are watching this recording. And this is a topic that is a life changer because most people are unaware that what is actually happening inside our body. And inflammation often has no symptoms, yet it's an underlying cause of so many chronic diseases. So in 2004, Time magazine called inflammation the secret killer. And it occurs at a cellular level, starting in the mitochondria. And it's connected to nearly all chronic diseases, from cardiovascular and autoimmune illness to Alzheimer's and cancer. And in, and from all these diseases, there's a cause, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So I was having a lot of inflammation early on in my life, even in my 20s. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that as we get to different symptoms and different, because people come to this for so many reasons. And we're going to give you an overview of that. But just to let you know, this is a huge passion of mine, and I was never planning to share, health in this way. I'm a registered nurse. I was a cardiac nurse for over 20 years because heart disease is very prevalent in my family, and I was very interested in it. However, as my career went on, I realized that I was pushing a lot of pills, and it was more like a band-aid for a symptom. And rather than looking at the whole root cause. And when I was sick, I got sent to different specialists for different things. And then I started looking into holistic ways of doing things. So now I am a holistic nurse, and I work with an array of people from different backgrounds. And we just love to share the help that we got ourselves with other people so they too can heal. So I'm going to share screens with you. And so let's see here. I hope you can see this. Oh, I meant to do this. Okay. So we talked a little bit about inflammation, and we are and that the Time magazine had this as one of the headlines. So you know that when that happens, it's an important topic. So what is inflammation? Chronic inflammation is one of the most insidious causes of disease in modern society. Certain lifestyle factors increase in inflammation, and as a result, our cells lose the capacity to function at peak performance. And the result is slow deterioration of health that often leads to full-blown diseases like autoimmune and cancer. And chronic low-level inflammation seems to play a role in most diseases, including type 2 diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, cancer, and even depression. When the immune inflammation response is constantly triggered, over time it can damage the body instead of healing it. According to Catherine Hobson, is inflammation bad or good for you in her book? And I'm going to go to the next slide here. So, is it good for you or bad for you? Like we said, it could be either. And firstly, normal inflammation, that is inflammation of the chronic or non-chronic variety, helps to protect us against infection and injury. And inflammation is a necessary biological process that signals our immune system to pay attention to certain tissues in the body. So when something's not right, the immune system will do what it can to remove the offender. For example, when you strain or sprain a muscle, cut yourself, um, the healthy immune system stimulates the defense mechanism, permitting injury to heal. So when inflammation is chronic, it's chronically high due to things like poor diet, stress. It could even be things we are sensitive or allergic to that we don't even know about. So the immune system quickly becomes overwhelmed. And for instance, rheumatoid arthritis is a good illustration where it's a painful condition resulting from inflammation of the joint, skin, eyes, lungs, heart, blood vessels. So besides arthritis, inflammation is a response for all other conditions such as bursitis, inflammation of the elbow, knee, or shoulder, and hepatitis, inflammation of the liver. Today, we're going to focus on chronic inflammation, and we'll also suggest ways to reduce and in some cases eliminate it altogether. Um, and so we're going to go to the next slide here. So as you can see on the one side of the slide here, we have chronic inflammation. On the other side, we have acute inflammation. And with acute inflammation, we have a stimulus, and that causes immune helper cells to do their job of healing, and then the whole stimulus ends because the body doesn't need it anymore. But in chronic inflammation or adaptive immunity, there's an ongoing stimulus, and immune helper cells try to do their job of healing, but ongoing stimulus results in more cell recruitment and increased inflammation and changes to the cells. So it's a repetitive cycle. And let's go to the next one here. So on a cellular level, as you can see here, there's two mitochondria or two cells, a healthy cell and an unhealthy cell. So in the unhealthy cell, there's a lot of free radicals coming out and it into the body, and that affects how we feel on so many levels. And there's very little energy coming out, and it has like a rigid cell membrane that doesn't let it function well. So in a healthy cell, it produces lots of energy, and very few harmful free radicals are coming out. So it's very critical to understand that inflammation can affect the energy output of the mitochondria in our cells, which determines health and energy production. And so when the mitochondria in our cells, it's like the energy factory for our whole body. So it is so important, right? And when inflammation inhibits mitochondrial energy output, the body is immediately at a higher risk for any disease. So it's almost always a factor, the inflammation in chronic disease. So we're going to go to the next slide here. So there's an unhealthy cell and a healthy cell again. And cells regenerate, which is the good news because we can do something about it. So look at the image here. You can see on the unhealthy cell, like we said, the rigid is hard and it's hard, and only a little bit of waste products come out, and some nutrients get in. And on the healthy cell, it has a softer, permeable membrane that lets this exchange happen readily. And the good news is that 100 million cells die per minute, and we also get new ones. So the skin cells renew in 28 days. So, for instance, when you start on clean products on your skin, you may not see a result right away because everything has to renew. And it takes 28 days. So, liver cells take 500 days. So, I met someone when I first went through this program that we're going to talk a little bit more about, that the doctor had told her she had 6 months to live because her liver was shot. And when I met her, it was 4 years later. And she said she went from walking with a cane and barely functioning to doing exercise classes and all kinds of things again. And when they did the blood work, her liver cells had completely renewed themselves, which, as a nurse, I have to say, I was just totally blown away. I didn't actually realize that there was a way to help people that way. And that's when my light bulb went on. And I thought, I cannot keep this to myself. I'm going to have to share it with everybody. So, intestinal cells have renew in 3 days, which is amazing because imagine changing your diet a little bit and have that happen. Um, and red blood cells in 120 days, white blood cells in a few hours. So, we're going to go to the next slide here. So it can strike any weak organ, brain. You'll see poor memory, depression, MS, Alzheimer's. I don't know if you heard of gluten brain, but some people that are sensitive or allergic to gluten, they have some and they can't think straight. And it can happen with anything that you're sensitive to. So that's why what you're putting in and on your body and your environment is so important. So heart vessels and any blood vessels. So hypertension or high blood pressure, heart disease, or stroke can happen. Muscles and bones, arthritis, osteoporosis, and with the skin, acne, eczema, psoriasis, and wrinkles. Lungs, asthma and allergies, and thyroid, Hashimoto's and Graves, digestive tract, Crohn's, celiac, GERD. There's more. These are just a few. Kidneys and liver, hypertension, or again, high blood pressure, we should say, in layman's terms, fatty liver, and toxic overload. Some people tell me that doctor said they had fatty liver and they don't know what to do about it, or they give them a vague idea what they can do. So this is where we come in, um, with not to medicate people or replace the doctor, but um, a lot of times the diet is not their expertise. They have very little background in it, just a few hours actually. So we're going to discuss 7 early signs of inflammation that are often ignored. People may not correlate or recognize them as inflammation symptoms. They go to different specialists, like I did, for each symptoms, not understanding that it may all stem from inflammation. Go to the next one. Oh, I think we skipped that one. All right. This was me when I was newlywed in 28. I had chronic fatigue, and I could only, if I walked out of our apartment, went across the street to the grocery store, that would be everything I could do for the day. And I started running a high fever, and I was completely wiped out on the couch most of the time for almost a year. And the doctor said, the endocrinologist that I had worked with, and he was highly regarded and one of the nicest doctors I've ever met. And he said, Brigitta, I saw him as a patient. He said, we can give you a high dose of steroids. It's a long shot. You're going to gain about 40 pounds, but it might work. So I came and told my husband that, and he was like, I think we're going to look at some other things. So we actually prayed, and a friend called back in the days, and there was a recorder. Our friend called and left a message and said, take Brigitta to this. It was at that time, it was like a naturopathic clinic. It was before I found out about this program. And naturopathic clinics and seeing a doctor, it could be very expensive. And so when I found this program, I first of all, I did get better. And fast forward about 20 years, and I was in my 40s, I had a little dip again in my energy because I think I was approaching menopause, hormones were changing, and I see this often in women happening where they things are shifting in their 40s. Not just women, men too. But especially for women around that time is a critical time. And I got help before I had preserved my thyroid for all those years, even though I had Hashimoto's in my 20s. My levels started getting a little bit out of whack. And that's when I found this program that we're going to tell you a little bit more about. And it was a fraction of the cost of going to a naturopathic clinic. And uh, the information and the coaching one on one that I got was superb. I mean, there was not much nutritional coaching in my first attempt in my 20s. You know, they can only do so much working one on one with so many people. And yeah, so let's go to the next one. That was my story. Mary Harrington, she was the director of neuroscience program at Smith's College in Massachusetts. Massachusetts. She believes that chronic inflammation is directly linked to chronic fatigue. And scientists have actually discovered a biological connection between the immune system's inflammatory response and activity within the brain and spinal cord, which is very exciting. And this relationship enables chronic inflammation to interfere with the brain's circadian rhythm, which, you know, governs sleep and awake and all that, which is very important. Um, so we're going to go to the next slide. Red and itchy skin. Did you know inflammation can show up in your skin? You know, so high stress levels can produce disproportionately large amount of inflammatory chemicals, and these can affect skin health. Um, so a lot of times what we see in our skin is signaling internal inflammation. It could be in your gut, it could be somewhere else. It worsens by toxins, food, or toxic skin products. And I grew up with eczema, and I didn't realize how closely related that was to what I was eating or what didn't serve me. And my parents put hydrocortisone creams on me 3 times a day when I was an infant. And when I stopped using toxic products on my skin, like in my 40s, this I got so much better. Like I had taken some of the foods out of my diet in my 20s when I initially had chronic fatigue, but I actually hadn't changed my skincare. I didn't have a skincare routine. Let's just put it that way. I was a soap and water girl. And some of that stuff could be toxic. And so I had eczema on my forehead, on my eyelids at the time. And even though I was eating better, I was still not, you know, when I finally started using non-toxic products on my skin, is when I got really so much better skin. And so I'm so thankful for that because it's, yeah, skin and health, you know, sometimes you can see health from the inside when you look at people's skin. And I know this as a nurse because you learn to do that. And I didn't quite understand why before. So healing happens through detoxification and then clean inputs. Skin is our largest organ, and trace amounts of what we put in it can be found in our bloodstream within seconds. And this is why it is important to use clean products without mineral oil and other toxins. And mineral oil is a petroleum byproduct. So not so good. Go to the next one. Excess belly fat. Did you know that the toxins in the body are stored very, how do you say, brilliantly in the in our skin cells in our and around our belly area. And so when we have, they even have a term for heart patients, that because oftentimes they have this syndrome where they have a lot of belly fat, and it means we have a lot of inflammation. So, according to researchers at Washington University, a degree of inflammatory responses correlate with amount of environmental toxins. So when we so the so the body uses fat to store toxins. So removing those toxins help reduce abdominal fat naturally. And so when I was in my 40s and I went through this program, the first time in my life I had a waist. It was pretty cool. I was actually doing the program just to support my husband because I didn't care that I couldn't fit into my old jeans. And But it was a nice bonus because the body didn't need those fat cells anymore. And the best part though was of course getting rid of inflammation and feeling so much better, having more energy. So, digestive problems, chronic bloating or heartburn are not normal. They show inflammation in the gut lining from processed or allergenic foods. And food intolerances. Wow, that was me and so many others. I didn't actually know I had food allergies until I took them out. You actually have to remove them for about 30 days, and then you can introduce one by one back into the diet. So if you decide that you want to look more into this program, talk to the person that invited you, and they can lead you through that, reintroducing foods. And you basically get to pick your poisons and stick with it. The healthy stuff that you love, and then yeah, anyway, it's exciting. So removing processed or allergenic foods often eliminates symptoms. So food sensitivities is a prevalent issue and kicks the immune system into overdrive. And go to the next one. Headaches and migraines. They're linked to inflammatory markers and often food or toxin related. So, in a study conducted by the University of Toledo College of Medicine and Life Sciences, researchers found a positive correlation in patients with a migraine diagnosis and inflammatory markers within the body. And I actually had depression in my 20s and I didn't know why. But looking back on it, I'm sure it was because I had so many undiagnosed food allergies and inflammation. And thankfully, that has not been part of my life in the last few decades. It's worth it just for that. And I've also coached people through this program who, like the husband was doing the program to lose weight because that's one of the side effects of the program. And then the wife, which is in one case, it was a coworker of mine, another nurse, and she came to me and pulled me aside one day and she said, Brigitte, I've been doing my husband's program for like a couple of weeks now, and I actually I'm considering, reducing or eliminating my antidepressants. And we don't want you to go and reduce or eliminate anything unless you talk to your doctor, of course. But she was just sharing it with me from the perspective of how much better she felt. And that is huge. So many physicians have reached this conclusion by crediting the frequency of patients diagnosed with depression to registering high levels of inflammation. And they're likelier to suffer from an inflammation related health condition, such as rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease. And even if you have one of those diseases, there are ways to live with it by reducing inflammation that makes such a big difference. So, neurologist Mary Harrington says that I always try to address inflammation as a foundational strategy with all of my patients. And if you think of a body as a series of radio stations or radios communicating with one another, when so the inflammation, which could be like between the nerve cells, for instance, are like static on the radio. Like the the body can't hear the signals well. And so all the signals from the body, like if you hurt your hand, for instance, the signal goes up to the brain saying, oh, you got to remove that hand from the stove or the heat or whatever it was. And that's one example. But in general, in the body with every process, there is communication with the brain and the spinal cord via nerve cells, and it is so important that functions correctly, and then things can start to heal. So lowering inflammation is huge in letting the body work optimally. So we're going to go to the next slide. So this is the inflammation hierarchy. So you can't supplement your way out of inflammation. You can't just exercise your way out of it. But the most a lot of times people will just want to jump to the top and take one or two things to fix it, and then because it's easier just to take a pill. We want a quick fix, right? Um, so we know of drops or pills like K2, D3, great supplements, different things. And we know they help with inflammation, and it's easy to think it will be a miracle pill. But unfortunately, our body doesn't recognize these miracle pills. So if you want to address inflammation, you remove or diminish it significantly. We have to follow our body's pattern, the way it's set up, and work with it. Um, and we have to start at the bottom of this hierarchy. It's kind of like I do wind sports, and you want to work with the wind. You don't want to. There's no way to fight it. It's the same way in the body. You're just kind of sail your way there using the mechanisms that the body has. And so we're going to tell you a little bit about those because that's super important. So on the bottom, as you can see, it says stabilizing blood sugar. Because your body's blood sugar isn't stabilized, taking supplements or miracle pill, it won't do anything. And if it does something, it would just cover the symptoms rather than treat the cause. So in holistic health, we want to figure out what the cause is and then working from there with the body. So we don't medicate our way there. So once the blood sugar is stabilized, you can look at circadian rhythm and sleep patterns. And you have to address that first in order for your diet to improve and supplements can be working. Once that's done, we focus on gut barrier and digestion. And once your sugar stabilized, and you're sleeping well, and your gut is fixed, and you don't have leaky gut, then food can get absorbed into the bloodstream. Now, what you put in your mouth for food and nutrition actually is going to get to your cells and feed them. So now you need to pay attention to the quality of food that you're eating. Um, we always should pay attention to the quality of food we're eating. It is such a bonus for how we feel. So we need to feed our body and the cells that are replicating themselves every day. So the nutrients that our body needs every day are 60 minerals, 20 amino acids, 16 vitamins, 3 fatty acids, and they're essential fatty acids. Deficiencies in any of these nutritional substances each lead to very specific and often serious health problem. Now that our body's blood sugar is stabilized, you sleep well, and your gut barrier is fixed. You know how to feed your body. And now we can add supplement or a protocol. That's when the supplement and protocol will effectively decrease inflammation in your body. So the reason we want to underscore this is that so many people, and I wanted to try that too, taking one or two products they bought from Amazon or Whole Foods, thinking it's going to help with, achy joints, migraine, or all these symptoms of inflammation that we get in our body. So, how we address inflammation from the body up? That's the question, right? So, by following this inflammation hierarchy, and what do? We don't want to just leave you with a definition of the problem without a solution. So, we're going to give you a summary of how exactly we do this. So, we we don't diagnose or treat any disease. Where we come in is a moment you realize that you have to change something in your life, lifestyle, and diet. So, if you want to stay healthy or be healthy long term, changes have to be made. You probably have heard it's not about lifespan or how long you live, it's about health span, how long you live a healthy life, how long you can live functionally or functioning optimally, stay independent, live on your own, travel the world, enjoy the life for as long as you can. And I have to say, no, 15 years ago almost, when I did this program the first time, I wouldn't even have dreamed of doing the things that I am able to do now. And it is because I found a way to take care of myself so I can function optimally. And yeah, so talk to the person that introduced you, and we can show you our 30 days to healthy living anti-inflammatory program and what that is, which we do in community, and you'll have a coach, because it's so important to, you may know what to do, or even where if you learn what to do, it's not always so easy to stick with it. But in a community and with your own health coach, it makes a huge difference. You know, accountability, we do it together, it's fun. There's, recipes, there is things to learn. My whole family is forever changed because of this. When I was doing it the first time, my kids were teenagers, and when and they knew how to lead themselves nutritionally and their friends, very it's part of, to me, that's part of of leaving a legacy, right? You get to inspire other people. um, when you go to your doctor, they don't usually tell you exactly what to do. They just say, change your lifestyle and your diet. They don't always give you instructions exactly beyond that. So most people try to figure it out on their own, but that plan has a lot of holes in it. So that's where we come in, where we help you change the environment in your body on a cellular level. And there's about seven main root causes of major chronic disease. I'm gonna stop share here. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see for some reason my mouse doesn't. Okay, we're gonna forget that. Whoops. Um, so we're gonna stop share. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that. Okay, we're back to the screen. Um, so the seven causes or root causes of major chronic disease: clogged organs of elimination, toxic overload, high blood sugar and insulin, food deficient in nutrients but high in calories leave us overfed and undernourished, hormonal imbalances, too acidic body fluids causing bacteria, viruses, and cancer to thrive, but fortunately they can't exist or grow in the correct pH range for each respective um, organ. So it's actually kind of hard to get sick with that in mind. And a clogged and congested lymphatic system. So we have an anti-inflammatory program called 30 Days to Healthy Living. And most people get in trouble doing homemade toxic remedies that initiate organ detox before opening up or clearing the exit routes from the five elimination organs. Because sometimes they're clogged, and it doesn't matter how healthy you eat and what you try to eliminate, it's just going to be a closed loop where the toxins are going to get reabsorbed, and you're going to feel even worse unless you open those first. So that's part of the program, not just the pill that actually detoxes, or it's not even a pill. It tastes amazing. So the first 2 weeks, all you will be working on in the program is opening up those elimination organs, opening up the drains, so to speak, so that your body can actively eliminate the toxins and they don't just get stuck or reabsorbed. And toxins can affect any part of your body. They interact with each other and with your body's chemistry in unpredictable ways. Anything can happen. When your building is on fire, that's not the time to redecorate. So you first have to put the fire out with inflammation. Most people don't understand this. They keep adding supplements and more things. And blood sugar spike can cause glycation, and for instance in your skin it creates wrinkles and lines, and other things happen in other parts of your body. um, so with that, thank you so much for being on here or watching this recording. Again, I'm Brigitte Young. I'm a registered nurse and a holistic consultant, and we work as a team together. So reach out to the person that invited you. Thank you.